is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
On a nice day, it's very scoreable. When you go play it on a 15, 20 mile an hour day and you're hanging on to your pants. And I think I love that about that style of golf, link style of golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top 100 Clubhouse podcast. We've got a special guest. Normal guest in terms of Jasper Miners. So Jasper, we're going to do a wee dive into our most recent rankings, changes in what we're doing in Ireland.
Ireland, yeah. It's traditionally we've done a Republic of Ireland and a Northern Ireland ranking. And then those two countries could be compared if you isolated them in the GB&I, so Great Britain and Ireland ranking, which is our regional ranking. But this year we've done something a little bit different. We've introduced the Island of Ireland ranking, and then we've also done a ranking for the 4 Irish provinces.
So just a wee bit on the Island of Ireland. That's going to be a lot of Republicans that will be enjoying the fact that we're doing that. But going on to the provinces, why have you chosen the 4 provinces as they are?
Yeah, so this is one thing that obviously we don't get into, political side of nationalistic side of things. We steer well clear of that. But we felt that there's such good golf on the island of Ireland that we wanted to have a ranking that basically took that all into account, and we could look at the Republic, Northern Ireland, and the thing that we came up with was in rugby. Actually, they used the 4 provinces as kind of a delineation. So, and it doesn't seem to be too provocative for most, and we thought that would be one way to do it. So even on the website, we've used the provincial flags for each of those areas, and then there's a combined flag of all 4 of those flags for the island of Ireland, and that seemed to align with a similar geographic references that have been used in other sports. So yeah, we're quite excited to be able to do it. It was actually easier than we thought it was going to be, because the only province that kind of straddles the international border between the Republic and is Ulster. So we were able to do that. So it's something new for us. We'll deepen it as we go, but we wanted to introduce it on this ranking cycle.
Well, it makes sense. There's so much depth in that area of the world that deserves to be kind of distilled a wee bit more like they do in England with the counties.
Exactly right. So that's really what we came up with. So we've got 4 new rankings with regards to the provinces. We've got a new ranking with regards to the island of Ireland, and then we've got updates to the Republic and to Northern Ireland. So the thing that we have to keep in mind, not just for the Irish rankings, but for all the rankings moving forward, is that we've issued new guidance as of last year. Our panelists have also changed. There's been a large turnover of panelists, not for any particular reason, but with the new panelists coming in, with the new guidance, I would say that Ireland there's been a lot of movement.
Well, it's going to happen when you change over to a different panel, right? It's going to
panel, and I would say even more than the panel, probably the guidance. So I think what we're seeing, especially in Ireland, is that you've got 2 main types of golf in Ireland. You've got resort golf inland around lakes, and then you've got world-class links golf near the coast.
I noticed you didn't say world-class holiday resorts.
And I think you're going to find that reflected in the rankings. So we're not saying that it's not good golf. what we're saying is, with the criteria that we've set, a swish resort that's got all the bells and whistles, if the golf course is all right, it's probably slipped in the rankings, where perhaps a bare bones fun golf links experience has significantly rose in the rankings. And I think that's the thing to say, is that for a lot of clubs that might be listening to this podcast or looking at, where their club is at on social media, clubs that have slipped down aren't necessarily, we're not saying that they've gotten worse. What we're saying is that we've pushed a lot of clubs higher because they fit our criteria better, and inherently because of the way rankings work, if one club moves up, there has to be another club that moves down. So I wouldn't get too bogged down in we've moved down a handful of places, because that's just the nature of new golf clubs coming in and improving, and perhaps our criteria being changed. And I think if you're a Parkland resort style golf course in Ireland and you've dropped significantly, and there are a handful of those, what we're not saying is it's not worth going to see. It's just saying that when it only comes to the golf course specifically, that there's probably other golf courses in Ireland that you would want to see before those.
Well, on the international stage particularly, there's been a number of golf courses, links golf courses, that have kind of been forgotten about and now made themselves a name on the world stage.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in respect of those rather than anything else.
Exactly. So you've got some big risers. There's 15 courses that have moved up 5 or more spaces because of the ranking criteria. And I think what's interesting is that we start to see in our rankings that budgets don't necessarily equal high spots in rankings. So there's a handful of golf courses that have very minimal budgets, but are on very interesting pieces of land that don't necessarily stretch past 6,000 or 6,500 yards, but they're fun to play. And for us, it's the golf course that matters, and not necessarily, is the golf course a championship test? If it's fun and exciting and it meets the criteria that we've set, then it'll do well. And I think that's the thing. There will be some people, and I can't wait to see the comments in the social media, the keyboard warriors out there, that will say, well, there's no way that this small, kind of goat track golf course is better than this swish holiday resort with all the bells and whistles and day spas and all sorts of weird and wonderful massages. Those things are all great. And if you're traveling as a couple or with your significant other, brilliant. But that's not what we rank. We rank golf courses.
Yeah.
So
as much as I'd love a massage right now.
Absolutely. I could go with one as well. But the point being that what we're trying to do is isolate those variables. And if we're fair, there's been quite a few. That's not to say there are some golf courses that have fallen significantly, even though they're links. And I think what we've done there is we've tried to, on this one, is reset the rankings. And what we mean by that is that there's some golf courses, because they've got a name or they've historically been held in very high regard, and they've probably punched a bunch their weight for a while, that they are finding their more natural position. And Ireland's the first ranking to come out for this ranking cycle in 2025. But trust me, when we get to the world rankings, there's some...
This is not the small fry compared to it.
There's going to be some big movers in the world rankings that it will absolutely startle some individuals. Household names of golf courses that drop significantly because we feel they've punched a bunch of their weight for too long, and we think that we want to be the first ones out of the gate that put them where actually most people who have played them and seen them know they should really be.
Well, from an inside point of view, I know how much work has gone into making sure that you're getting these things right. And it's been there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions about are we going too far for certain people and are we going to lose integrity? But if anything, all you're doing is trying to gain your integrity back by saying, this is what we honestly believe is the rankings.
And I think what we're going to find too is, so there are courses that do drop. I mean, there's 22 contenders in Ireland. So these are courses that we encourage the panel to go and see. There's some that have moved in, some that have moved out. And I think when it comes to a lot of the rankings, it's one of those, you can't take rankings too seriously. And I understand that's easy for us to say, especially when for a lot of golf clubs, they're really important because it might make up the cornerstone of their marketing campaigns. We don't take that for granted. The last thing that we want to do is independently say that we think, and what we're not saying is that you don't have a great golf course. I mean, there's far more golf courses in Ireland than are even anywhere like near our ranking. So the fact that if you're even in the ranking, you're already at the top of the list. You're the cream of the crop. And if you're a contender, then you're in very good company. And what we're trying to say is there might be some that come, there might be some that go, but we want to get to the point where we can reward work that's being done and we have our finger on the pulse. And if we make movement within that ranking moving forward, it's for a very good reason.
But that's it. It is a ranking, so we have to be brutally honest, and we have an opinion, and we publish that opinion.
And I think the thing to say is we often get asked, like, have you been to see all the courses on the list? And the answer is yes. We try, if an individual panelist has a really strong view about one course or another, that will usually be interrogated. We usually have multiple individuals who have gone to see it, and we don't see too much deviation between. If we line up all of the responses of what people think is good, bad, or otherwise, usually they kind of fall into buckets. So you might have a top 3, a top 5, a top 10 that kind of contain all the same usual suspects. And then when you get down from 11 to 25, say 26 to 40, 41 to 60, 60 to 75, from 75 onwards, there's probably 50 courses that could go in there, and no one's really going to argue with you.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of interesting ones, like just names to pull out. Rossapena Old Tom Morris seems to be gaining a bit of traction. Traditionally, Sandy Hills has been a higher ranked golf course. I know they've done a lot of work to widen the fairways to make it a little bit more playable, especially in winds. And despite that, Old Tom Morris seems to be making up a bit of ground, which is quite nice. Obviously, St. Patrick's is the jewel in the crown there. Royal Dublin's done some work recently, agronomy-wise, bunker-wise is kind of the big thing. And I think Royal Dublin just, it lies in the shadow of some really big names. So you have the Island, you've got Portmarnock, you've got County Louth, you've got the European Club, sorry. And we haven't even started on like the west of Ireland and the Donegal in the northwest. So around Dublin, I think the investment is paid off, and you've seen a little bit of an increase there. Jameson has done a lot of work, and we've had individuals see it. It's fallen a little bit, and I can understand how, if you've done a load of work at a resort and then you've fallen, you kind of think, like, what's going on? So it might just be that it's kind of finding its natural place, or it might be that it's fallen and it'll rise and kind of find its own kind of natural point. And the other thing that kind of stood out to you was Ballybunion Cashin. So this historically has, I think in the industry, most people felt it was a missed opportunity, if we're honest. it's always going to be difficult to be the second course at a golf club that has one of the greatest links courses in the world
Yeah.
as their first course. You know, it's sort of like being at St. Andrews and being the Eden, the New, the Jubilee, or the Castle. You know, it's a really tough kind of second act. But there's work going on, and that'll be really good to see how that goes. So those are kind of the names that we're looking out for. Rossapenna, Old Tom Morris, Royal Dublin, Jameson, Ballybunion, Cashin. And it was interesting to see like the work at Nairn and Portnew. So obviously Gil Hans went in and did a bunch of work to see how that's been received. And getting into, you know, the new courses at Rossapenna. So St. Patrick's just seems to be getting better and better with a little bit of age. And I think that has probably a lot to do with course conditioning and maturity of turf. So exciting things going on in Ireland. I don't think that you're going to find any major surprises. I think it's down the list where you'll see a few more unknowns really making some big moves, and some of the well-known Parkland resort type courses that kind of tumble down.
What it does show is that fingers are on the pulse. You guys are very aware of what is going on in all these spaces and who's working there, what work they're doing. And it's because it's not just through newsletters, it's because we have feet up on the ground speaking to these people and discussing the changes and working out who's doing the work, why they're doing the work, where they should be, what they want from it. And it just translates better into the rankings.
And I think that's a good point to make. From a business point of view, like we would love to do better B&B or B2B. And what I mean by that is if clubs are...
I don't want to start a B&B, mate.
B&B, no. Hospitality's not... Well, we like hospitality, but what I mean
it's the
is...
early mornings for the breakfast making.
So when it comes to clubs, so we're obviously not at home at the minute. We're in Aberdeenshire at Trump. We've seen the new course. We've played the old course. We've spoken to the course managers about the changes they've made. Yesterday, we were at Mercer, did the same there, making big changes to the third hole. They've done a lot of gorse removal.
And I was up at Royal Aberdeen the week before, seeing the changes they're doing there.
So what we're trying to do is not just the really big headline stuff, but like down the rankings, understand what's going on. And just because a course makes major changes doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to move up. And
just because you spend money doesn't make it better.
That's the point. So there's a lot of golf courses. I mean, honestly, like a lot of the golf courses that we get to see, they spend tens of millions, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars or pounds on their resorts, on their golf courses. And actually, you know, we were at Mercer yesterday, cracking golf course, great turf quality, done some great work, even in-house. They've got no massive, internationally renowned golf course architect.
It's literally the head greenkeeper that's been doing all the work, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that's the point to make, is that budgets don't equal. There's been a lot of golf courses that have been ruined or lessened because they've spent money doing things that they think are going to improve it and actually makes it a bit worse. So the same old things matter when it comes to golf. Is it interesting land? Does the golf give you options? Does it make you think? Is it interesting to play? Is the term sporting? Is it firm? Is it fast? Can you use the ground game as opposed to only the aerial game? Effectively, if you can tick those boxes, like you have a very good chance of doing well in our rankings. And whether that's a small links course, to mention one in Ireland, like Corbalus.
Just next to the island.
Makes a massive leap in our rankings.
It's been a sleeping, well, not giant, 'cause it's not giant, but it's tiny.
Exactly, but it's fun.
Yeah, and it's enjoyable, and you walk around every golf shot thinking, oh, what do I do here? How do I do this? What do I think?
It's a great little golf course, and it's 12 quid.
Yeah. It's incredible.
And they've not, and I can hand on heart say that they have not spent a single penny with us.
Yeah, 100%.
Our panelists that have gone have paid for their green fees, as well as most of the other courses that we visited. In fact, in a lot of areas, and especially once we get into the bigger rankings, top 100 USA, World, GB&I, a lot of our panelists and rankers pay their own way. They don't even know that we visited. And I think that's important, that we try to be independent, we try to be informed, but we want to make sure that if the clubs are making changes, if they're doing work, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to move up just because something's new and shiny. But if you are doing something like that, please get in touch and let us know. And
100%.
and
It's
we can come
important
back.
that you do. It is very, very important that if we miss somewhere because of something that I don't know how we would miss it, but if we do miss something, it's not there's 40,000 golf courses in the world or something. Of course
Absolutely.
we're going to miss some.
And it's interesting. I mean, there was one example of a ranking we put out the end of last year for one of the states in America. And the golf course, when we finished the rankings, which were, I think, July, August last year, the course had just closed. And we'd been ranking for 4 years previous. And we missed it. And, yeah, we took a little bit of a hit on social media with people saying, honest mistake, we can't be everywhere doing so we're trying our very, very best. And honestly, up to this point, it's probably been most of the time us reaching out to clubs, but we'd love to develop that a little bit further, where if clubs are doing work and they want us to be involved and they want us to come and see it, we're still fiercely independent. That's not going to change. And just because you give us a bacon sandwich on the first tee and maybe a pint at the end of the round, that won't affect your ranking.
Yeah, but still do, please.
Yeah. Especially for James. Get a shout out on the podcast.
I don't mind the bacon roll's important. The pint's very important.
So it's one of those where, yeah, we want to make sure that we're trying our best and we're giving every club the opportunity to show the best they can. And Ireland is probably, if I'm honest, probably the most the one makes the biggest changes, and it's the most intense outside of the world.
Well, that's it. The thing about Ireland is it's actually not been ranked that much. As in, like, there is obvious rankings where Irish golf courses have been in many a ranking GBI. As an island or as a country of the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland, there's very few rankings historically to compare or to discuss. So it's been quite unique.
Yeah, and like I say, we've taken it. We've tried to be cautious. Obviously, I mean, I've lived in the UK for 15 years. There's obviously sensitivities because there's a lot of political history there, and there's obviously a lot of emotion attached to very serious matters. And we definitely are not making any type of political statement or nationalistic statement by issuing these. In fact, we've tried to be very conscious that we want to do the exact opposite of that. We want to stick to golf, and we want to make sure that we're just giving people an opportunity to see the best golf courses in that geographic area ranked and see how they stack up against each other, which I think was a very interesting exercise. And
do you want to run through maybe the top 5 and then say if you want to see the full list? Absolutely. Go onto the website.
So, top 5, there's not going to be a lot of change. So, Ballybunion, old. We've spoken a little bit about the Cashin and what we expect, hopefully, in the near future. That should really move up, especially if the work that they do there is well received. Second, Lahinch, that has a strong showing, holds its own in the international rankings and world rankings. Rossapena is one that's continually risen through the rankings. So that one it comes in at 3rd.
What the cases have done there is incredible. Absolutely amazing, sorry.
And I think the thing with Rossapena is it's the new one. So you look at Ballybunion, Lahinch, Portmarnock, those are kind of the old guard. They've always been considered the best. They're the elitist clubs in all the best senses of what that means. And then you get this new kid on the block, and in 5 or 6 years, it's starting to really make waves. It's recent, and sometimes in golf, some more recent work is really, really good. And St. Patrick's is one of those examples.
You want to reward that.
So what's also exciting too is we get some change from about 5 onwards, where you have some courses moving up 1 or 2 spots and then others falling back 1 or 2 spots, or just simply swapping places. But what we see is that it's a reflection of mostly work that's been done to make the golf course better. So, and once you get past kind of the top 20, especially in the Republic, then some of the more major swings start to take place. So I would be looking to see what happens with that when we release it on social media.
Well, thank you very much, Jasper. That was a real good little breakdown. If anyone wants to see the rankings, please go onto the website. We're not going to divulge all the rankings right here, because you should be sitting down with a pen and paper or a heart defibrillator for some of the changes. And thank you very much for listening, and thank you again, Jasper.
My pleasure. Thank you, James.